Gio Reyna is the latest US men's national team player to head to the Premier League. His loan move to Nottingham Forest was made official on Wednesday afternoon. He'll remain there for the remainder of the season. He's been searching for game time amid a difficult spell at Borussia Dortmund. The 21-year-old has featured in just 14 matches this season for the Bundesliga club and has yet to score. He's made just 5 league starts over the last 2 seasons. And for more on this, let's welcome in our former US international, Jimmy Conrad, for all the reactions. Jimmy, it's so good to see you. I mean, we all know that Gio Reyna needed to leave Borussia Dortmund, but how do you rate this move for Gio, and what makes this an attractive place for him to go?
A lot of questions there, Poppy, and I'm going to take my time and answer them with my transfer window beard I've got going on. I'm not going to shave until the transfer window is closed, but I'm very excited that Gio is getting out of Borussia Dortmund. As you mentioned, not getting a lot of playing time. I think around 350 minutes in total this whole season, which isn't very good. He's trying to make the most of those minutes, of course, but clearly Edin Terzic, the manager of Borussia Dortmund, isn't buying what Gio Reyna is selling right now. Now he gets a new lease on life at Nuno Espirito Santo, the new manager of Nottingham Forest. My only concern with this move, yes, it's exciting he's going to the Premier League. Yes, he's hopefully going to get a chance because a couple guys are injured right now for Forest. But they're in a relegation scrap, and the way that they're going to play might not necessarily suit the style of play that Gio Reyna likes to play, which is keeping the ball, maintaining some possession, making that killer pass. Right now, when you get into a relegation scrap, it's all about fighting and clawing and scrapping and doing whatever you can to get results. And that is not necessarily what I think about when I think about Gio Reyna. So I wonder how this is all going to work. However, and I'm very curious to see how you feel as a Forest fan, Poppy, and what Ian has to say about this as well, this is a situation where he's got an opportunity to sink or swim. And can he take it with both hands and make something of it? I just hope he gets the opportunity to do so. And I, of course, hope he does a lot with it because a lot of eyes are going to be on him and how he responds and reacts to different situations, especially given Forest's place on the table.
Jimmy Conrad, your good friend Ian Joy here. It's great to see you. I've got a beard myself, buddy. We'll call it the Gio Reyna beard. I mean, this is great news. It's obviously interesting for Gio. He wants to try and play regular minutes, and I don't blame him for stepping away from the Bundesliga to get those minutes. But this club in particular, as you pointed out, this is a club at the bottom of the table fighting for their lives right now. And after what we went through with Leeds United States of America and them eventually getting relegated with US international players there, what makes you think that this could be different and a better fit for a Gio Reyna?
Well, given the fact that Steve Cooper, who I thought did a tremendous job in charge of Nottingham Forest, getting them promoted and making them dangerous and making them a tough team to play against, him being relieved of his duties, bringing Nuno Espirito Santo in, I feel like that there's just been a little bit of a new manager bounce, right? And now when you bring Gio into the equation, maybe it just gives him a different look. Maybe he can play a different style, a different attacking scheme because you have the player profile and the skill set that Gio brings to the table. As we're seeing here, though, there's going to be a lot of competitions for spots. I mean, there's some guys that are hurt. You got Hudson-Odoi. You have Dominguez and Williams, Nico Williams on the right side there in particular. That was the last game that Forest played. But then you got Taiwo Awoniyi, who is injured right now. But when he comes back into the team, he's a threat as well. Anthony Ilonga, Morgan Gibbs-White. So they have all these talented players that are already kind of used to the system. Not necessarily Nuno Espirito Santo's system, but Steve Cooper's. So this could be a good opportunity for Gio Reyna to slot himself into the conversation and say, hey, I can fill this void for us. I can help us solve these types of problems going forward. And I think he does have a different skill set than some of the other guys that they have at their disposal. It's
an interesting point, Jimmy, because that's the biggest question for me is Gio Reyna going to play? He's leaving a team where he's desperate for minutes. Is he going to even get that at Forest? But from a US men's national team perspective, I think that's what everybody wants to see because this build-up to the 2026 World Cup is so important. So from that perspective, what does Gio need to do over these next couple of months?
He's got to find his confidence. I know this is more in the emotional side of the game, right? There's 4 areas of development, 4 ways to rate a player. It's technical, tactical, physical, and then mental, emotional. And for me, I want to talk about that last one first because he needs to regain his confidence. He needs to be able to believe in himself. When he's on, there's no denying how talented he is. He's so good at breaking the lines, and he's got vision, maybe the best vision that we have on our U.S. men's national team or in our player pool. So we want to get him the ball in good spots when I think about how we want to play as a national team. And you're talking 2026. That's still a couple years away. I'm hoping he's just ready to go and sharp and feeling good about himself for Copa America this summer because that's going to be a hell of a competition for us as well. So we have the Nations League coming up this is a big opportunity for him, as I mentioned before. Can he take it? Can he make the most of the minutes that he gets? If he gets 10 minutes, can he do well enough in those 10 that warrants him getting 20 in the next game? And then if he kills it in those 20 minutes, can he turn that into a full half? And maybe when he does that, can he turn that into becoming a starter? That's the challenge for him right now, and he's going to have a lot of people to prove right, I guess, because we all want to see him do well. And then for all the haters out there, he's got to prove them wrong. And I'm sure he's feeling a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that he wants to prove that he's good enough to not only play at Dortmund, but to start there. And this is a good opportunity for him to kind of get a new, breath of fresh air, let's say, and make the most of this opportunity.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm obviously sad that the Bundesliga days might be coming to an end for Gio Reyna, but going to the Premier League is another opportunity to see yet again another talented American stepping into the Premier League, and similar to what his father did do. Please note, forget that, all of you haters out there who are angry at this type of a news, if it's not a good fit or if Gio's not good enough for the Premier League, forget about it. Let's give him an opportunity to really fit in there. But I guess I'm wondering, Jimmy, why Nottingham Forest? Because a player of his ability who's playing in the Champions League, at least trying to get into the team in the Champions League, who's competing last season, he missed out by 1 game on lifting a Bundesliga title. Why would he go to Nottingham Forest? Did he not have other opportunities, do you think?
That's a loaded question. From what I understand, Ian Joy, and I appreciate you asking this, is that his new agent, now for everybody that doesn't know, Gio Reyna fired his agent back in December, Wasserman Media Group, and hired Jorge Mendes, who is considered one of the best and biggest agents in the world. Now, Jorge Mendes has his own client list, including managers, and then what I believe Nuno Espirito Santo, or his relationship with Nottingham Forest overall, is very strong. So it just felt like a good fit. Let's get Gio out of this situation. It's not working for him in Dortmund. Where can we put him, even if it's for 6 months? Can we do Gio a solid, get him a new opportunity, and see how he does? I'm with you. I don't think this is the best option out there. If I had to pick, I would try to find a mid-table team that's got a lot to prove and could use a boost of what Gio brings to the table. I'm thinking Bologna and Serie A. I'm thinking Las Palmas and La Liga, who are good, emerging, hungry teams that are in the mid-table, that are trying to get into maybe one of those European spots, get in the 6th or 7th spot in their respective leagues, and bring him into that. But now, again, we have to bring it up. The relegation scrap is just different. Teams play different. You're not about thriving at that point. You're about surviving. And the way you would approach games is different than when you would if you were in mid-table and you were trying to gain and you had a true identity already. What's interesting about Forest, and I'm sure Poppy can talk about this for hours, given that she's a Forest fan, is you lose Steve Cooper as a manager, and now your whole identity changes under Nuno Espirito Santo as he tries to right the ship. But he's trying to right the ship in a way, not from the beginning of a season, but, hey, we're close to the bottom. We can't get relegated here. What do we have to do to press those buttons to just get us to survive? Once we survive, then I can really implement the philosophy and methodology that I want to really have success as a manager. So he's coming in at an interesting time with an interesting team, and I wish him the very best, but this is not my favorite situation for him.
Yeah, me either, Jimmy. And do you know what? When you said Bologna, I absolutely loved that shout because I thought this is a team that's exceeding expectations. Thiago Motta is one of the best young coaches we're seeing currently in a team that's on the rise, and he's gone to the complete opposite. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Forest, but I just don't think this is a great move for Gio. However, I do think Nuno could get the best out of him. But I want to know what you think the long-term plan is here, because say in 6 months' time, do you think that this move to Nottingham Forest is then going to set him up for a good club where he could go back to playing Champions League football potentially next season?
There's a lot riding on this, and I actually wanted to address that, what Ian said before about, is he good enough to play in the Premier League? For me, that's undeniable. He is. He's already proven it at the Champions League level that he can hold his own against some of the best and biggest clubs in the world. So going into the Premier League, yes, maybe the pace is going to be a little bit different than when he was used to. With in the Bundesliga with Dortmund, maybe they play a little bit of a different style. That league's got its own personality. But when you have as high of an IQ for the game as Gio has shown over the years, both for club and country, he's going to adapt. It's going to take him a little while to adapt to the style that Forest plays. But because, as we mentioned before, the relegation scrap just becomes a little bit different. For me, this is a big window. That's why I said sink or swim time. That's why I wrote it on this sign behind me as well, because he's got 6 months. He's in a shop window now for 6 months. And people aren't just going to watch what he does when he's playing. They're also going to see how is he reacting to different situations. How is he handling maybe not starting a game? Is he positive? Is his energy good? When he only gets 5 minutes, is he busting his ass for those 5 minutes? Or is he just going to be moping around because he's not playing 10 minutes or he's not starting or whatever it is? These are the things, these little things, these details are really going to separate the type of player Gio is going to be perceived as moving forward. His talent is undeniable. I think everybody across the board agrees with that. It's the intangibles. Can he bring those intangibles? Can he step up and want to take on that responsibility and accountability that we want to see for him at the club level, but definitely for our national team as well?
Jimmy, the question probably would be, can he do it on a cold night at the Vitality Stadium against Bournemouth more than anything else?
We're going to see.
We get it. Listen, he's a talented player and we have witnessed it before, but I don't think it's necessarily sometimes what you do on the pitch. Sometimes it's about that mentality, the communication, the body language. You know, it's about making yourself fit in with a group of players. He's got to get into that team first and foremost to have the impact that we all know he can do in football games. Let me swing it to another direction, Jimmy. Obviously, with the US national team, major competitions coming up this summer, and there's a lot to look forward to even before the summer as well. And I know there's no doubt about you and Jesse and Chuck have been banging out the text messages back and forth about what this is meaning for US soccer. But what does it mean for US soccer? Gio goes to Nottingham Forest. He's got to hopefully get in the team. But I'm intrigued about your opinion as to how this affects his chances with the US national team going forward.
That's a good question. I would say overall it's a quick fix solution. Because it's only 6 months, he's in a shop window. Borussia Dortmund's giving him a chance to potentially play and do well, and then they'll make decisions from there. And I think the U.S. national team and Greg Berhalter and the coaching staff will just be monitoring the situation.
Jimmy, I'm coming straight back at you, all right? I miss these days being able to banter with you, to be able to come back and forth at you. But here's another situation. What happens if he goes to Nottingham Forest and he doesn't play there? He doesn't get into the team. At Dortmund, at least it was a status club where, oh, we'll bring Gio in and he can play. But at Forest, if he doesn't fit in there, Jimmy, surely that doesn't bode well for a Greg Berhalter.
Well, I agree with you, and I think there's a good chance that he won't fit in there because you have so many of these guys that are competing for these positions already. They also want to play in the Premier League. Callum Hudson-Odoi doesn't want to lose his spot to Gio Reyna. However, Gio Reyna is going to get his chance. You're not going to bring him in and not give him a chance. So it's just a matter of giving him that chance, and then he's got to make the most of that opportunity, right? When it comes to the big picture, and if he doesn't play and doesn't really feature for Forest moving forward, what does that mean for the national team? I don't know. And I think that's a big conversation to be had for the coaching staff. How much rope do you give him before he has to take a step back in his career at the club level to take 2 steps forward? He has to find a situation where he can play and be trusted with that responsibility to be the guy game in and game out. He was on the precipice of that, of being a regular for Borussia Dortmund a couple years ago. He's not that anymore, and he has to regain that before I think we can start to give him that same type of responsibility on the regular for our national team. But yeah, this is a big question and something that I assume Greg Berhalter and his coaching staff will be monitoring closely.
Yeah. Hang on a second, Jimmy. I'm still just hung up on the fact that Ian just said Dortmund and then compared Forest to a non-status club.
Not anymore.
Excuse you, Ian Joy. I do want to ask you another question, though, Jimmy, because you know how important it is having chemistry, obviously, with your other US men's national team. He's got Matt Turner in Forest. We've seen what an impact that has made in Serie A, obviously, with some of the US men's national team players playing on the same team. How much of a difference is that going to make for him having a familiar face in Nottingham?
I think it'll help a ton. Just that transition period. If he didn't have a Matt Turner or Ethan Horvath, who's also at Forest, to just be a welcome face. I'm sure there are times when you're with your club team but things aren't going well. Christian Pulisic was a great example when he was at Chelsea, where let's just bring him back. Let's just give him a nice big hug. We're around your friends and family, which is what the national team and the culture has clearly shown over the last couple of years with this particular group of players. So it's going to be nice to see a familiar face, I'm sure, and to be able to maybe just go have some dinner with some friends and just talk things out. And like, hey, where are you at? How are you feeling? And he can give some insight, Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath. Hey, this is how the club works, not only from a Nuno Espirito Santo managerial level, but also just the club overall. This is what the club means to the community. This is what it means to the fans. This is what it stands for. This is what we're trying to accomplish. And then, hey, give me some insight on how Nuno, the manager, works. What is he like? What does he want to see? What is he asking the other players? I mean, it's all these invaluable insights that he wouldn't be able to get if he didn't have a familiar face in that squad. So yeah, this is a big advantage for him, and I hope that he takes it.
Quietly confident that Matt Turner's probably more happier to see Gio than Gio is to see Matt Turner right now.
Very true.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Hey, TBD on how it all unfolds on the pitch, but I tell you what, Gio, if you're watching, you're going to absolutely love Nottingham off it. We've got the oldest pub in the world. That's all you need to know. Well, according to us, we do anyway. Who knows if it officially is, but I think you'll enjoy his time in Nottingham. Jimmy, thanks so much. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Good job, Jimmy boy.
See you soon. Let's go, Gio. Gio.
Yeah, go on, Gio. To the Red Sea goes once again. Breaking news, Gio Reyna's loan move confirmed Wednesday afternoon from Borussia Dortmund to Nottingham Forest until the end of the season. He joins a team that's sitting in 16th place in the Premier League, only 2 points clear of the relegation zone.